I had no problem with plural marriage. I mean, born and raised into it, born and raised to people who had been practicing for a long time. I had no problem with it because it's what I knew.
Continuing our documentary Throwback, Keep Sweet, not to be confused with Keep Sweet, Pray and Obey that is on Netflix. This is a little bit different. Part 1, I described how to get it. Some people have found it on Hulu. It's a whole thing. They are very different. Now, Keep Sweet, Pray and Obey is a good one. It's kind of like FLDS 101.
You know, I think this is one of the topics that really trips up a lot of people. They feel like that because polygamy receives so much attention, that is the tenet of our religion, and it's really only one of them. It's a small piece of the religion. I don't think it's fair that the hegemonic gaze of mainstream gets to define a culture, any culture. But when it comes to populations that are, created to be deviants, then that is absolutely accepted, and that's the way it is.
Shirley Draper. Now, this is someone that I actually really respected until about 2 weeks ago when I was sifting through pleadings. Now, I was there for the Beislein trial. If you remember from Keep Sweet, Pray and Obey, Torrance and Liddell Beislein were two of Sam's major accomplices. They were going through all this. Liddell took children, that sort of thing. He was married to two people that were, I want to say, 11 and 14. Whatever, right? So they decided to go to trial while Sam took a plea deal. Now, Sam is going to be going to trial on the Flagstaff stuff later this month. We'll be there. I'll make you some videos to let you know how it goes. But Shirley actually came in at the sentencing, and the pleadings are going to be kind of flashing right here, and effectively gave a testimony for the defense, was paid by the defense to get Liddell a shorter sentence. During her testimony and during her report to the court, she actually refers to him as a victim, which I found deeply upsetting because there's been a lot of questions about the ethics of Trust Me and what they did. I promise you, you don't even know a quarter of what those men did. That's why you think Sam is just a silly, goofy guy. That man is terrifying. I'm telling you this from the bottom of myself. I'm not really scared of anybody, but he's a scary guy. So Shirley, allegedly, I don't have proof of this one, but Shirley allegedly offers the same deal to some other people, and when they don't have the money, she goes and testifies on behalf of Liddell Beislein. And the other part of that, she misrepresents her qualifications quite often. She says, well, as a social worker. She's not a social worker. She was literally within the scope of her expertise, could talk about the dynamics in this culture, but that was about it. And she stopped by the prosecutor several times. She is very almost upset the way it reads with the prosecutor, the way that he's questioning her, keeps trying to answer questions differently. And you have to remember the prosecutor was the one trying to get the justice for these people. So the reason you would throw him attitude is completely beyond me. She is on the board of a charity called Cherish Families. And I'm sorry, I do not feel that you should be working with those populations if you are willing to defend the people who hurt them. Shirley was a huge part of taking the town back with a lot of her friends, because a lot of the people who've taken the town back are friends. And I just find it incredibly strange that you would spend your life trying to make the world better for these people that were hurt by Warren Jeffs, and then you're going to come back in years later and defend his clone. It makes no sense to me. It's a little more complicated with the dynamic of the women and children and people are in town, and even some of the men. But it's very, very clear who Liddell Beislein is. And to go in and effectively try to get him a shorter sentence, which he got life, so it didn't work, is beyond me. And that's not someone who I think should be working with these vulnerable populations, especially because I went through a few Facebook posts. They intentionally and often misrepresent their education, their background, but that does not work in federal court. I just wanted to share that with you because I was so deeply upset. I have respected the work that this woman has done, and she has done some good work. I'm not going to take that away from her. But if you're willing to accept a check for that, I don't really know what to say at the end of the day, because this man was a lot like Warren Jeffs. That being said, let's move on, and you're about to hear Warren Jeffs' voice.
We come today to the subject of the 1953 raid. It's very important that you young people see how the prophets and other good people have defended you, protected you, how the government of the United States persecuted this priesthood through the years. The 1953 raid was made to destroy our families.
In 1953, the state of Arizona did come in. They arrested all the men.
They were planning to release the women. They thought that women were here not of their own accord, and they thought that they were going to open up the cage and allow the women to fly free, and they would be grateful. And to their surprise, the women were not grateful.
Sorry it went on a little while about Shirley. That just really upset me because I will go harder on someone that I respected than I ever will. Because you know what, honestly, people that are kind of sus, I just expect you to be kind of crappy. So I'm not going to be like, oh my God. But when someone that I didn't expect, it's just shocking. But anyway, so let's get into the raids a little bit. I'm not going to go super into them. We talked about it a lot in part one. However, there is this idea that the proper prophet will be persecuted. So yeah, Samuel Bateman, his followers think that's proof he's supposed to be in charge. Now, Warren Jeffs, with the help of law enforcement, see, here's the thing about it is that although sometimes the reasons they were going in were very good reasons, obviously we're worried about children, all of this stuff going in, the way that they executed them and have historically executed them scared the crap out of people. And then the prophet could actually use that to continuously scare them for years to come, which is exactly what they did.
I ask you to go home today and imagine tonight all of you taken away and placed among the Gentiles, having to live among them in their ways.
That raid really defined for us of how the government's not to be trusted, how law enforcement is specifically not to be trusted.
And so we get into this idea that anybody new that comes in, they're coming to gather information. They're coming to hurt us in some way. So we work together even closer, more determined to not let the world in to hurt us anymore.
Put yourself in someone else's shoes, because I feel like that's one of the most important things to really understanding these dynamics, because at the end of the day, I was in a group when I was a kid for a little while, but I was really little and it was not this restrictive. So when I take myself out and I put myself in those other people's shoes, I can see that the person you think is the most important, this person is more important to you than your mama, your daddy, brothers, sisters, old bingo over there in the corner. And one of the biggest messages he's giving you is how terrifying we all are, the Gentiles. And especially if you're an apostate, like someone who's left, that makes you even more dangerous. And this is the conditioning that you are literally being bombarded with your entire life. So newcomers come into town, you're terrified. Like, this is a really good foundational knowledge of this situation when it comes to how things came to be set the way that they are. A book that I recommend to understand that time in the town where it went from Rulin Jeffs, Warren's father, being empowered to him slowly usurping everything after his dad's stroke, I would recommend reading Stolen Innocence by Alyssa Wall. It is such a good book, and it's from the personal perspective of someone who watched these changes happen, because like I said in part one, the community was not always that restrictive. When I meet you at part 3, we're actually going to move right on up to 07, talk a little bit about Sam Brower and some other journalists who have been through town, and of course the Lost Boys. I'll see you there.